auto sequence start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, hello there. Welcome, my fellow spiritual healers, to another installment of Canned Conversation. My name is Andrew, and with me, as always, my good friend Steven.
What's up?
Howdy ho. Tell me, my friend, have you noticed that people have become more and more inept at the art of parking their cars?
I don't know that it's more and more. It's always bothered me. I feel like people don't realize what the lines are for. Like people don't parallel park well. They don't realize what lines are for. I'm probably guilty. I have a truck and it always hangs out the back of a parking space. I get that. I don't pull up far enough, but still, yeah.
Mine's more along the lines of if you're in a parking lot and you're driving down a lane and there are only a few cars in that lane in the parking lot and there are a few spaces between each car, how would you approach parking in that manner?
Well, yeah, you don't. So it's the same with urinal etiquette, right? Like, as you don't post up.
I use this exact analogy.
Yeah, you don't post up right next to another guy or car. Like, if there's enough space, you give a space in between, right? Like, everybody needs a little bit of room. That way, you don't get door dings. That way, you don't have weird stuff happen in the bathroom. Just if there's room to spread out, you spread out. That's what COVID taught us anyway. 6 feet of separation is good.
Agreed. And you know me, I park farther away so that I don't have to deal with other cars typically, for that very reason that people will pull up immediately beside you given a innumerable amount of spaces. And I've just been found, I've come out of the store here the last couple of days, or last couple times I've gone, and there's a car right next to me and there's plenty of spaces around. And in my head, so I had this conversation with my wife and I'm like, it's like the urinal etiquette.
Yep, it is.
And, unfortunately, women don't necessarily know that etiquette unless it's come up in conversation like this. But I'm like, if you come into a room with 3 urinals, you post up on the far one so that if someone else comes in, they can leave one in between. And
yeah, you never go in the middle if there's if there's open spaces on the end.
Right.
And if there's an option to give somebody one urinal space free,
exactly,
you always do it.
Yes. Go furthest away or one buffer.
Yep. Unless you're at a ball game where everybody's
right.
There's no way to do that.
Yes.
But still.
Agreed. Okay, so you and I are on the same path here. So let's just jump right into it, as is our passion. One of us brings a new, unique, or rare canned beverage to try, and while we shotgun this thing into our gullets, although this can's going to be a lot harder to shotgun, we are going to attempt to dazzle you with our linguistic artistry. Later in the show, we'll review and rate the canned beverage and let you know if you should try it while power washing the various things that one power washes around the house.
Okay.
I figure you have to be drinking during power washing. It's just such a mundane.
It is. It's like a mesmerizing. It's like mowing the yard, right? Like trying to get lines perfect, but it's even worse on power washing because you can completely tell where you missed when it all dries.
Right. And sometimes
brutal.
you don't catch it until it dries. But don't, I guess, drink too much because you might stick your hand in front of the power washer, and nobody wants to do that.
I've cut a crock before trying to think I was going to wash it off with a power washer. It's foam. Like, what was I thinking?
Right.
I don't know what
was it on your foot? Were you that
absolutely. I'm just like, I got stuff all over me. I'm just going to power wash this off. And I'm like, oh, that ain't good.
Did it cut you? Did it get you?
Didn't get me. I've hurt myself with the power washer. Like there's enough pressure to hurt, but not like cut my toe off or anything.
Okay.
But this like took a little nick out of my crock, and I'm like, oh no, my crock is broke. So,
all right. Well, I cannot wait for this can. I've been now looking at this giant can here, so let's do this and get to it.
Sweet.
To overcome something, you have to understand what a perfect engine it is. It's how you fight disease.
That's maybe our first horror flick line. That one's out of Saw. Yeah. Going way back to the original Saw. I think there's probably been 14.
Saw 17 now, yeah.
Yes. All right. So this is kind of a unique situation in that we both brought similar cans in terms of who it's from and the maker, if you will. So we both brought High Noon for this.
Unknowing, like I brought
Right.
it and you bought it separately, and we came to the table. I'm like, what about this for tonight? And
Right.
you're like, I got that. That's what I brought.
You had talked up some High Noon from your trip to the Bahamas.
Yep.
And mentioned how much you liked it. And I noticed it was a seltzer, but since then I've heard a couple other really good things like, oh, this is a seltzer that's not the typical seltzer. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, well, it's summertime and it's 150 degrees in the shade where we're at and sweltering. So this has to be.
And we've been critical of seltzers, just for the record. I mean, I think I'm critical of most of the seltzers that out. We've tried Bomb Pop from Four Hands, or no, it's called Sparkler from Four Hands, right? But
It's Bomb Pop inspired.
Yeah. They've got a couple other ones that are also inspired by those kind of
Right.
flavors, like Tiger's Blood. Tried it. We're not doing that on the show. It's horrible. It's really not great. But their Sparkler is really good. This is what we had for the first 3 days on the Bahamas trip that we went on, and it was our breakfast drink. It was our afternoon drink. It was super refreshing. So
I brought a 4-pack of the smaller variety, and they were black cherry because I didn't know what's a good flavor. I don't know. I sort of picked between. There was mango that they had, but we had just done a mango Rita. They had a peach, and I feel like we just did a peach margarita.
Yep.
So I'm like, all right, well, what am I going to get? I got black cherry. We getting all set up, and Steven busts out a can that is twice as big as the cans that I had. So we're like, well, we're going with the bigger can here. I mean, we're going to go big or go home.
I happened to pass it on my way here while I was at the gas station, and they had big old tall boys of High Noon. And this thing is whatever the Europeans call 700 milliliters. You translate that to whatever nonsense it is. But yeah, so it's a big giant can.
And I equate this, I think the can's the same size as the Frank's Red Hot Michelina or Michelada.
I think that was just short of a 2x4. I think this is a 2x4. I think this is a 24 ouncer if I had to guess. I don't know how much 700 milliliters are. I probably should calculate that. But yeah, this is a big boy. Oh, and I will also mention it has a weird top on it.
Yeah. So when we set this down, I noticed that there's this blue type of thing over where normally you just have the normal. And it has instructions on the back.
We just now found the instructions after somebody already messed with it.
Right. We're like, how does this thing? So you, it's sort of ingenious, I guess, if you're planning on not drinking a metric ton of seltzer because this is a very large can. So I guess the way you open it is you pop the back side of this blue top, and then you slide the blue slider backwards to reveal the opening. But then you can push it back if you want to
and
save
reseal
some.
it.
Reseal it. So it's like a resealable
it's boat
can.
safe. If we'd had these things, they wouldn't have lasted long enough to reseal. But still, but yeah, this is the craziest the craziest top I've seen in a long time. But
So what flavor did you bring?
So I brought pineapple because it was by far my favorite. Not that I don't like the other ones, but for some reason, pineapple struck me as like the super refreshing. Pineapple's always refreshing. You put it in pina colada or whatever you put it. It feels refreshing. We were sitting on boats. It was great. It was perfect. Pina colada or like pineapple-y type, breakfasty, lunchy, dinnery. I could drink it all the time. So pineapple.
So I've opened this. I've successfully gotten this top unsealed. So we're going to just dive right in to today's episode while we enjoy some pineapple vodka and soda. The first thing I wanted to do, because I'm sure you were on the edge of your seat since December about whether I had purchased a stolen car or not. I think the last update I gave just a couple of episodes ago was that the dealership had finally attained a title with some caveats of it had some riders on it, whatever that means in the state of New Jersey. So we received said title, which had a number of papers stapled to it. So taking that to the DMV and waiting in a line to get to the counter, I was like, this will surely not go right? I'm going to hand this over and they're going to go, I'm sorry, you're going to have to take this back to New Jersey. But no, I had all the paperwork in order, handed it over, and we are officially licensed.
So 6 months.
Yeah. See,
So
the applause should have been super loud on that one, and a firework should have gone off. So after 6 months of running with dealer plates and not knowing if you were going to be able to keep the car, it actually is titled in your name, and you get to keep it.
Titled in mine and my daughter's name, and it's ours. There's license plates on the vehicle.
Nice job.
And
kudos to you guys.
yeah.
That was a long road for buying a car. Not going to lie.
Yeah, to full ownership, even though I've been paying on the loan for all of the 6 months. But that's a thing. Mm-hmm. So we have that, and I just received the new title, for our state, fresh and crisp, in the mail today, actually. So
sweet.
I can put that into the
frame
old, into a frame. And
longest time to get to a title ever.
yes, I asked the lady at the DMV. I'm like, just out of curiosity, have you seen any longer titles than this? And she's like, this is a long one.
Yeah.
I don't think she wanted to let me down.
She's seen tons longer than that.
Right. She's like, well, that's probably one of the longer ones from the actual dealership, but in our particular state, I'm sure she's seen years before people have actually titled, because we have kind of an issue with some people running long with the temporary tags.
Yep.
All right. You may have heard that applause in the background. That is a live studio audience. So just want to also give a real quick shout out to the audience. Hey, you guys out there, just, there you go.
Good.
Make some noise. We made some room in the studio here. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Calm down. It's not, we're getting into it, but we're trying out a new feature here. So if you want to listen live, we're going to go live sometimes.
Yeah.
All you have to do is if you're on Spotify or have the Spotify app, you go and click on a link on some of our socials. I posted that out there a little late today. This is our first time. We thought we'd just give it a test run, and all these people showed up.
Yeah, it's great.
So Spotify Live, if you follow us, you can turn on notifications. You'll get a notification that says, "Hey, Cane Conversation is going live." So you can listen in. And after this, we're gonna see. We might. You can interact with us too. You might be able to ask a question or give us your opinion on one of our topics.
Yeah. In live, you can chat. You can raise your hand, and we can let you talk. You can be part of the podcast. I know people have asked before. They go, "Hey, how do I call into your podcast?" And we're like, "You don't know what a podcast is because you don't call into it." But yeah, normally we're doing this on Thursday nights, right? So so if you subscribe to the live channel, it will actually tell you the second we go live, and so you can join in right when we're actually recording the podcast, and you can sit around and interact with us as we're recording it, which is kind of fun. So hopefully it's a new feature people love.
Yeah. And I like how you made that nice and friendly, that people have asked that, how do I listen to you live? My experience has been that people have asked, how do I jump on and correct something that you've said?
My sister is, my sister's like, can I just join and correct all of your childhood memories that are wrong? I've remembered them correctly. You've remembered them wrong. How do I correct you on live on the podcast so that people don't hear the wrong thing? And I'm like, you can't. There's never going to be a way for that. I'm going to tell my story the way I want to tell it. Damn it. So no. But this is your chance, right? So you can join us and hang out with us while we're doing this, which is kind of cool.
Fantastic. So, in keeping with telling us your story, tell us something that you did this past week or whenever you texted me and said, "Hey, listen to what I just watched."
Oh, so I don't know. Maybe I'm getting older. I don't know. I feel like I'm starting to be some hippie, bleeding heart liberal or something. And I didn't start that way, but there is a part of me that is exploring new worlds, especially with how crazy politics is right now. But I was just had it on in the background. I thought, I'll play a documentary or a documentary, depending on how you pronounce it. And I picked one randomly off of Amazon Prime. It's called Heal. So
you randomly picked, you weren't looking for this particular subject matter? Okay. That was the first question I had for you, because you texted and said, "Hey, I saw this documentary.
Yep.
And I'm excited. I'm zipped about it. I want to get your thoughts and stuff. So be prepared to talk a little bit about this." So I looked it up and I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then I did watch it.
Which is crazy. Now that we've both watched the same thing, which is awesome. But I just put it on in the background. I'm like, I want to watch a documentary that's not murder based, like serial killer based. And there's a lot of those things out there. And I'm like, I'd like to watch something else. I watch enough of that stuff, or Egypt or Aliens. There's enough of that crap out there too. But like this was different. I'm like, sure, heal, great. And it's about holistic medicine in general. I mean, like that's kind of the thing of it. But I thought it was really interesting. And there's a lot of kind of hippie-ish concepts, or at least like society would view them as hippie-ish, I guess. But a lot of it like made sense. Like they presented some interesting facts on it that I thought were at least interesting to talk about. That's why I texted you with it. I'm like, although this seems very hippie-ish and like, let's all, meditate and do yoga and we'll all just heal ourselves. There was a lot that made tons of sense to me, and it was very interesting. I got a couple of things that I pulled out of it, and I just want to kind of run through some stuff and then get your thoughts on what you thought of it too, if you pulled the same things out that I did. So sound fair?
And so this was not spawned by anyone in your family necessarily wanting to, because as I'm watching it, I was like, well, I wonder if maybe there's somebody that's dealing with somebody, an ailment, because, like you said, it's very on the nose about like healing sicknesses more so than like a cold, right? I mean, these people have sicknesses up to the worst sickness as possible, the big C, cancer. So
the theory behind this whole thing is the body is designed to adapt and heal itself. And we as society have come to a place in life where we are looking at doctors and pharmaceutical companies to facilitate healing when we're not looking inwards, and we're allowing things like specifically stress to cause a lot of our ailments. And then we're looking for biochemical things to fix that. And all that does is present other problems, and it doesn't actually fix your stress problem or the thing that's causing the ailment. That's kind of the general concept behind it. And there is a personal story behind this, which is when I was watching, I didn't go to it because of this, but when I was watching it, my mom and dad both had cancer and both died from cancer. And my mom got diagnosed with cancer and like, this isn't good. Things are bad, but she lived for, 6-8 months, and we had a lot of good quality time with her because she really enjoyed things and enjoyed her grandkids, enjoyed life, and stuck around for, I think, as long as they thought she would, but fairly long. But she went through normal chemo, radiation type treatments, like the brutal cancer diagnosis plus all the treatments that go along with it, and that kind of beats you to death, right? But the part, and that's not the part that really keyed on me for this one, but the part that keyed on me was they basically were like, your mind and your mindset tells your body what to do. And if your mind says, I'm going to die, it's going to die. And so when my dad got diagnosed with cancer, you may know this story, but he was shoveling a driveway, and I don't mean just a normal person's driveway. It's almost like a 45-degree angle uphill, and it has a right turn in it. And he was shoveling this giant driveway of snow, and he had like 6 or 7 inches of snow. He shoveled the whole thing. He was 72 years old.
I was going to say, and keep in mind, not a young lad.
No, 72, and shoveling driveways by himself, mowed his own yard, like super healthy, like never changed pant size since high school. Like wasn't right. Went to the YMCA and
like every day, right?
Like, yeah, counted his calories. We have when we cleaned out the house, we found a log of every calorie he'd ever eaten for like a century. I don't know how, like 3 decades probably worth of that nonsense. Healthy as can be, but he got bloated. Long story, kind of short, which is on Friday he got diagnosed with. I got a call and said your dad needs you to come up here. He's got some bad stuff going on, and we think he's got cancer. By Saturday, we knew it was like it was stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Mm-hmm. And then pancreatic cancer is bad. Right. Not a whole lot you can do there. But they said he's probably got 3 or 4 months on Friday night, Saturday morning, and then. He told us, he's like, hey, I watched my dad die of pancreatic cancer. I'm not doing this. I'm not going through the treatments. I'm not doing any of it. So by Monday, they go, he's taking a turn. He's got maybe 3 or 4 weeks. And by Tuesday or Wednesday, like he has 3 or 4 days. Right. And he died the following Friday. So within 7 days from diagnosis, his mind had already shut him down. And like he knew he wasn't gonna. I'm not going through what my dad went through. I'm not putting people through the whole treatment process. We got him into like 1 round of chemo or something. But you knew from the second that he got diagnosed, his mindset changed. He's like, this is not how I'm going to go. I'm ready. I'm done. But my mom was on very much the other way. It's like, I'm going to take as much treatment or do whatever I need to do to stay alive as long as I can, because I want to do things. I want to see my kids. I want to see my grandkids. So for me, this was like, I looked at this and I'm like, yeah, there's a lot that your mind tells your body that medicine doesn't fix. Like you could give my dad all the chemo in the world. I don't think he would have stayed alive more than, longer than he did. He was ready. He was like, I'm not fighting it. So heal was interesting it basically says your mindset and your thoughts shape your body, and you have control over that. And one of the doctors on there, which I thought was interesting, basically said 90% of illness should be fixed through holistic medicine. About 10% should be fixed through like medicine, pharmaceutical stuff. So pharmaceutical? What?
Pharmaceutical?
This High Noon's already getting to me. No.
Pharmaceutical.
So I thought that was an interesting, like, he's like, hey, if I have, and he went through a whole list of things, and the list is crazy because it's cancer, hypertension, diabetes, autoimmune diseases that are still unknown to medicine, why they happen, Crohn's, chronic pain, like the list goes on of all these things that are affecting humans more and more. And we have these giant rates of these, heart attacks and heart disease is one of the most common. And most of those are stress related, and they're mostly related to your mind, how you perceive the world, how you process thoughts, how you process emotions, versus some sort of pharmaceutical need that you are missing in your body. Most of it's not a pharmaceutical need. Most of it's not a chemical imbalance. And they're like, I don't need a doctor unless I get in a car accident. My guts are hanging out. I need a surgeon to stitch me back up. But that's what I need doctors for. I need holistic medicine. I need somebody to heal my mind, to make sure holistic medicine and proper diet, those two things alone will heal most of your ailments, and even up to cancer and heart disease and a lot of things that people are just taking tons of medicine for. And they're like, stop, like, you need to get your mind right. That's what tells all of your body, like, gives your all of your organs, all of your muscles, all of your tissues, the signals of what's going on in your environment and what to adapt to. If it's not telling them the right signals, it's not adapting to the right things. So get your mind straight, and that will tell your body how to adapt to whatever ailment you have, and it will get fixed versus trying to introduce chemicals. So I thought that was really interesting and crazy. But you watched it too. Yes. So I'm guessing you have a theory or a perception on it.
So I know you have sort of we're going to eventually rate the can, and we're going to come back. So you had some questions, I think, that were maybe more pointed. So for just this, like,
just you tell me what you thought of it, just from what you like. If you had to rate it on Amazon Prime, and you're like, oh, this was a what and why.
So I'll just throw out that I enjoyed watching it. And I found only a couple things that made me laugh and that I had to write down. So I agreed with the overall premise in that the right mindset is needed in order to facilitate healing. What they kind of come at it with is that, if you have diabetes or if you have certain cancers or Crohn's, that they had a few people on there that were like, I had cancer, and I went to this person who taught me the art of knowing how to think and how to say, I'm going to heal myself. And there was one particular gentleman on there who said he would go into not literal sensory deprivation, because I don't think he had a tank of water or anything, but he said he was diagnosed with cancer, and he would sit on the couch.
The spine guy?
Yeah.
And he would
the spine?
Yeah, and he'd reconfigure his spine.
That's right. And so he would, thank you. And so he would sit, and for 45 minutes to an hour, he would just zone in on reconstructing his own spine in his mind.
Yep.
Right, over and over again, he
had a spinal cord injury.
Right.
And they said, you're probably never going to walk again. He's like, I'm not going to take your medicine or whatever it is. I'm not going to do your surgeries. I'm just going to heal myself. And he just sat there in meditation and tried to reconstruct in his mind every vertebra of his spine. And he's like, I got really good at it after 6 months. Like I could reconstruct every single vertebra, every piece of tissue. He was a doctor. So he knew all the connective things.
He was a doctor.
He was a
missed that
doctor as
part.
well.
Okay.
So he knew how to kind of reconstruct a spine and all the things that go inside that spinal cord and all the tendons that go and muscles that go around it and all that kind of stuff. He's like, I just spent time reconstructing it all.
So in that aspect, I took a step back and I go, okay, do I think that his reconstruction of his spine in his mind for 45 minutes a day healed him? I don't think that that's 100% what healed him. Now, this is one of those interesting topics, right? Where I feel like if I poke some holes in some things, it's almost like, well, I'm not trying to advocate you shouldn't have the right mindset. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, right? Or say, oh, that's just all for the birds. I completely agree that that laughter is the best medicine. Having the right attitude is the best medicine. But what I tend to see happen with these kinds of documentaries and people that get very into holistic medicines is they don't have a sense of balance, right? They go one way, they go extreme, right? Where it's Western medicine is the devil and big pharma is out to make nothing but profit. And if you take medicines that supposedly help you, you're going to have 20 other side effects, which is hard to argue with when you see some of the
If you've seen a commercial and you're like, hey, are you struggling with depression? Do you care if your arm falls off? Right. If not, this is the right drug for you.
Explosive diarrhea that you will never see coming. This randomness. And
yeah, it's bad.
Yes.
Extreme headaches. And
right. So, what I tend to see is when you opened up this can, if you will, by saying it's like very hippie. And so that's kind of where I see people go. It's like they have to go extreme to go, I'm going full on hippy dippy where I'm going to sit in a circle. And there were even some instances in that movie,
did, like group things,
where there are people that are like, giving is a chakra and where you put your hands in certain areas over their heads and stuff. And they're like, are you going to beat the cancer? Yes. Are you going to, and just repetitive meditation, which is great, right? Like, but my only point to this is the things that I sort of would poke holes in is that I don't feel like you should go full bore only on holistic and really holistic to me means like natural medicines. And this was way more of the mind. Like there wasn't even really talking about medicine.
They talk about herbs and supplements, but that's some, right? But it's mostly how do you like all the alternative medicines, right? Whether that be there's a little bit of talk about like I'm an acupuncturist or I'm a massage therapist, but a lot of it was mental stuff, and a lot of it was there was some weird stuff in there. Like there was parts of it I go, this is weird. I'm out. Like that one guy who's like, right. I have a spirit that talks to me and tells me where your ailment is. And then I work with that spirit. I'm like, what is going on? And I believe in ghosts, but I think this guy's a sham. But yeah, there was some weird kind of, they cover a lot of kind of crazy stuff there though.
Yeah, here was a quote from one of the guys that was on here that I had to actually pause and rewind it because I was like, what did he just say? Now keep in mind that he was not a religious person and he was not talking about religion when he said this. He was talking about himself, I believe. He said, the power that made the body heals the body. And that sounds great. That sounds like one of those things that you would put on a poster, right? That's like that you look over and you go, yes, the power that made the body heals the body, and that's me, which is great. Again, I love the attitude of positiveness, and he was not talking in a religious experience because really on the surface of it, to me, that sounds like he's talking about like a God, right? Like if he was Christian, if he just came up to me and said that, I would have thought, oh, you're probably talking about God.
Yep.
But he wasn't. He was really talking about himself. And I'm like, well, you, sir, did not make yourself. So I just, part of me found it a bit entertaining, right? Where it's like, I love the fact that you want to get better, right? And I'm all for hope. But sometimes when you say things that you come out with, I made me so I can heal me.
So
okay.
the guy who really resonated with me, and I had to rewind a couple times. I actually made my wife watch this thing too. She was interested in it. Was the guy who's talked about at your root, you are just an atom. Like if you just so that guy, and he talked about there's so much. God, you should watch it just from a perspective of like it's just an alternate view of healing and that kind of stuff. But this guy talked about how basically you're just energy, and that that energy that creates an atom, or that energy within an atom. If you just scale that up to, like, everybody thinks of themselves as flesh, and they're kind of there's their texture to them. And he goes, but you're just energy in some way, shape, or form. And I'm like, this is blowing my mind a little bit, right? Like, I'm like, okay, I get the energy, but I can still feel myself, right? Like I can still, I still have texture and touch and that kind of stuff. But he's like, well, everything's energy. And if you think of how energy works and waves, and then I was like, oh, I'm in. So all of a sudden it's like this guy like transformed my whole thought process on atoms and how the muscle tissue. And then there was another doctor that followed right after that guy who's like, he did a lot of experiments. That a lot of these guys worked for pharmaceutical companies at some point, and then they're like, this is crap. These people are just trying to make money. But that one guy who worked for a pharmaceutical company is like, hey, I got to do stem cell research, and I could put I bred stem cells. I started with 1, it let it multiply to 2 to 4 to 8 to 16, and then he goes, I put them in 3 different mediums and watched them grow 3 different things based on they adapted to their own
environment.
So yeah, right. So 3 different. The exact same cell put in 3 different environments adapted to what that environment would allow for. And he's like, that's the proof that you need that your cells will adapt to whatever they need to adapt to if you put them in the right environment. And so to me, I'm like, that was the end all be all of, there is something to that of your cells will adapt to what environment you put them in. And I don't know the right answer for putting them in that environment.
Well, let me help you.
Okay.
I'm the answer man.
Sweet.
I will help you.
Sweet Jesus.
I will help you answer all your questions.
Awesome.
First of all, I just have to point out that sitting in a group of people and talking about how you're all energy and you're feeling each other's energy, that's a college thing where you've taken shrooms and you're all sitting around and you're feeling each other's energy.
Psychedelic stuff is involved with that. And I feel like I'm past that point in my life where I'm like, it's legit.
Well, you never know. Maybe like when you retire one day and you're like, they're starting to use, talk about alternative medicines, right? They're starting to use mushrooms and what
LSD.
they call it.
There's a guy who's like, LSD is the cure to everything. Literally, he thinks LSD unlocks your mind, and your mind controls everything else. So there's a guy out there that
but PTSD is like, it's a huge thing in the PTSD field, I think, right now, and it's probably
there's mushrooms and.
Yeah, micropsilocybin or whatever it is that you have these like that type of experience. But let me just rewind it back a little bit. And so to your point, and again, it's like one of those things where it's like I love the message of hope and inspiration and trying to conquer a illness that you have, and you should be doing that on all fronts. What made me, so there was another part of the movie. So there was a woman, I think, that had been diagnosed with, and I think this one was cancer. And she said, so immediately I wanted to do something. So I changed my entire diet. I started eating fruits and vegetables and non-processed food. I started drinking water. I started exercising. It made me laugh because I was like, well, that's great. You should have, maybe... This is so terrible to say.
You're gonna be shunned by the audience.
To me, like, right, that's great that you did that, and I hope that helps you. But I think that's one of the problems with our society. That's one of the reasons we have the sicknesses that we do, because we feel a bit invincible. We go to the store, and unless you're sick, you're like, oh, macaroni and cheese. I don't know. I know it's not good for me, but I'm going to get that. I'm going to get some donuts, and not even that crazy, right? Like maybe not donuts, but I'm going to get some, these enriched flour products that don't give you a lot of good calories. Yep. Drinking a lot of things that aren't water, and you don't have to drink water, but if you're drinking soda all the time or things laced with a ton of sugars,
processed sugar stuff, bleached white sugar.
That's going against this whole philosophy, right? Like, and so all I'll say is my point to it that I thought was kind of interesting was it was like, I felt really good when I started doing these 3 things. I ate better, I drank better, and I exercised.
Right. Yeah. And you're like, duh.
And I was like, damn, if all of society would eat better, drink better, and exercise, I think there would be a whole lot less need for the pharmaceuticals that we are complaining about, that we're saying are the evil. You know, I mean, diabetes isn't something that's like normal in nature, right? I think that's a total I think less than 1% have like diabetic because their pancreas just doesn't work, right?
Right. It's an anomaly.
Right. And there are people that have that, but like if you have type 2, I think the diabetic, that's like your lifestyle or something that happens to you. There's other things.
That's what the guy said. He's like, all of type 2 diabetes shouldn't exist. Like that's a self-induced issue. So the one lady, to your point, and then I think we ought to rate this can because I'm drinking about half of it and it's giant. But to your point, the lady that struck me said, the lady that did, she goes, she's got a book, so keep that in mind. It's in context of she's promoting a book, I'm sure, but whatever. I'm not even going to mention her name because I didn't write it down because I don't care. But she has she went and interviewed people who had radical remission of cancer across the globe from all demographics, all socioeconomic backgrounds, and asked them, did extensive interviews with them. And basically she's like, there's like 54 traits that they all, or maybe it was more than that. I don't care. But she goes, but there are 9 that they all mentioned. And these are the 9. So changing your diet, taking control of your health. So there are
2 that I mentioned
there are the 2, and there are 2 that are physical, and the rest of them are all mental, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's changing your diet, taking control of your health, following your intuition, using herbs and supplements. Sorry, there's 3 that are physical. Releasing suppressed emotions, increasing positive emotions, embracing social support, deepening your spiritual connection, whatever that spiritual connection means to you. And then having strong reasons for living. So finding purpose and strong reasons. So those 9, she said, are in every single person who's had radical remission. Without any drugs or whatever, these 9 things are the things that are in common with people who have had cancer and they've been diagnosed with something, and all of a sudden the cancer over the course of a very short period of time goes away without medical explanation for why. So I think there's something to that. But like you said, you have to change your behavior. Some of it's changing your diet and changing like your exercise behaviors. And exercise and releases endorphins, makes you feel better anyway. Like that's mind and physical, right? Like there's things that make you feel better, like sugars depress you, over caffeinating yourself. There's all kinds of things that you put in chemicals that do bad things to your body. You reduce all those things, your body feels better anyway because it's just healthier. But also there's a lot of mental things that you can do to make your body feel better and to heal ailments that you would normally go to a doctor for, but you shouldn't have to. It's stress related. It's the burdens of living every day. It's a lot of this was how do you reduce your amount of stress and how do you get in touch with who you are and what burdens you're carrying around, which I thought, being the emotional guy on this whole podcast, I thought, well, crap, I'm bringing this crap up.
Yeah. I actually, I brought down a box of Kleenex for you on this one because I thought
there should be one all the time here.
So we're gonna get into a few other pieces of
I've
this.
got questions for you.
Right. And I kind of want to touch. I want to touch a little bit on what I think is interesting about the way that they sort of approached religion or spirituality.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
And then again, I want to talk a little bit, or at least I have a couple things on the balance and being balanced between science, capitalism, big pharma, all that stuff. So, but I want to know how this medicine in front of us, because some people call this.
If you're not drinking High Noon for medicine, you should be. So I'm gonna go first because you're still drinking. So I'm gonna go first because I've had these before. I had these a lot during a recent trip. So, which we talked about, but I personally the pineapple is my favorite of all, and I tried a lot of the flavors. I've tried the watermelon, the black cherry, mango, and there's a couple others that we tried too.
I saw lime.
Lime is one, yeah. Not bad. None of them
you said watermelon.
Yeah, none of them are bad.
Peach.
I don't know that I tried peach.
Okay.
But I gravitated to this pineapple, and it's dope. It's so awesome. And the bigger the can, the better it tastes. Like, I don't know. I love it. And we did a little, if you go check out our YouTube channel, we did a little from the Bahamas rating of High Noon. Specifically, I think I had black cherry at the time, but I think the others had pineapple. We were running low on pineapple because everybody loved it. But I think, so I'm still sticking with it. I will, in fact, now that I know that this crazy tab at the top, this can opener thing exists, I'll probably buy those big tall ones for the boat because now I can close it and it won't spill. So I'm going to still go with my rating. It's a 5 for me.
Whoa. All right.
Love it. Love High Noon. Especially, so if you're going to get High Noon, you at least have to try the pineapple.
The audience is really kind of loud in here, like when they're live.
This live show is weird.
I love it.
So interactive.
I think, we didn't bring High Noons for everyone. So, it's, hey,
simmer down.
I know. I'm sorry. This was our first attempt.
Yeah.
Calm down.
It's all good. It's all good.
Well, next time we'll bring more. This is, again, I stated seltzer. Typically don't agree with the seltzer taste. It's usually that sort of aftertaste. Maybe it's because, too, one of the things that I've heard that's different, separates the High Noon from others, is that it's vodka. It's like a real base versus, a malted type version. And so it actually does, it starts very clean, and you get the hint of pineapple. It's not overpowering.
Agree.
But it's also not so subtle that you don't get it, where
it's just fizzy water.
Right. I want to say it's like LaCroix or something, that water I've tried before. And it's like, this is cherry. And I drink it. I'm like, I taste no fruit.
All I taste is the explosion of carbonation in my mouth and this weird battery acid piece.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I don't like. But then I try this High Noon. It starts, like I said, clean. You get that subtle pineapple. And it finishes well, and I was waiting for that aftertaste, and it really didn't come.
Nice.
Yeah, like and I don't know how they do that, like separate for seltzer, because I'm not a seltzer aficionado to know what causes that. But whatever they did to it, the way they brew this is very good. Yeah.
Would you agree? It's usually like taking it like normal seltzers. Usually, like you drink it and you taste the flavor, and then there's like the moment afterwards where you like put a 9-volt battery against your tongue,
right?
Kind of that like weird,
and that's what I call seltzer. That flavor,
right?
Whatever that is,
9-volt Duracell is what that flavor is. But this isn't that.
No, and
it's super crisp
refreshing,
and clean. Yeah,
and it doesn't make me want to drink something else to wash that seltzer flavor down, which is what I think other seltzers do. Like I'll take a drink and I'll go, I might need a light beer to just kind of get this taste out of my mouth with this, which is I'm not doing for this. It's definitely on the 3 scale. I would say it's probably my favorite seltzer.
Nice. Okay.
I know the Four Hands was good with the Bomb Pop. I really enjoyed that. I think I gave that a 4. And then I tried some of their others, and it didn't quite meet that.
Not so good.
So I would love if all the High Noons were like that, and I can't speak to that quite yet. So I'm going to give this a 4 based on the fact that if all High Noons taste like this, I'm bringing this on the river as a cool, refreshing, and not just beer option, because sometimes beer
it gets heavy,
kind of old, right? And you've had, you'll have a bunch of it, and this will be a good change of pace to have on a 100-degree day in the water.
Agree.
To keep it refreshed.
So we forgot to mention it's 4.5% alcohol.
Okay.
So it's about a beer. It's not super high. It's not crazy. It's also, so in my opinion, goes with our theme here, which is it's made with real fruit juice, so it's actually good for you.
Oh,
it's probably healing us as we speak.
Oh, I know it is me. I feel much better than when I started already.
Agree. So I'm at a 5. You're at a 4. I think that's pretty good for a High Noon. I love it.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, and these big tall cans that reseal themselves, dope.
That is an awesome feature.
Yeah, nice work. If you haven't seen them, go out and look at the big tall boy High Noon cans with the weird blue tab thing that slides. It's if you have to read the instructions, and they're giant. I don't know how we missed them, but it says how to open it on the back. But yeah, it tells you how to open it. But it really actually is ingenious. So whoever invented that High Noon, kudos, nice work, man.
Yeah. All right, so like this is healing us.
Yeah.
Entanglement, supposedly.
Oh, you're going with the religious piece of this.
Well, I just wanted to throw this out there, and I don't know if you had this as one of your questions, but it makes me laugh when people go out of their way to avoid religion. I'm not an overly religious person. I don't go to church on Sundays. I feel like I'm spiritual in a sense, but not in that
traditional church sense.
Yes.
Yep.
But it makes me really laugh when people feel like they really need to try to remove it because they're one way or the other. Again, no balance. So when the gentleman on there was like, he was talking about the power of prayer, right? Because when people get sick, people pray for them, right? And I was kind of looking for that just to go, how do you talk about the external factors that help heal a person, and you don't like talk about prayer, because there's so many people in this world that go, I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to pray for you.
It's the first thing out of people's mouth on Facebook.
Thoughts and prayers.
Oh, thoughts and prayers, thoughts and prayers, thoughts and prayers.
So prayer is a huge thing in a lot of people's lives. So I was kind of curious, like, okay, so, there's medicine, but then there's like, how does the power of Christ compel you? And so the guy, they sort of highlighted it and goes, but they went on a purely scientific tangent and said, well, there's this thing called entanglement, and all of us came from the Big Bang. So when we exploded out into the universe, we're all entangled in each other's energies. Going back to the
we started as one energy, right? And he's like, since we all started from one energy and we exploded into a bunch of little energies, we all have this entanglement with each other. We're all connected, right? Basically, that was his theory, is that we're all still connected.
So if I pray, but he didn't say pray, but if I talk in my mind really positive in your direction, then that entanglement will cause my energy to bond with your energy and help you heal. So I was just kind of curious on how you saw that. So like, to me, it just made me kind of laugh and go, because he's like, that's the scientific way that this is working. I'm like, okay, man, like you went out of your way not to address religion. Yeah. I don't know why, but cool. That exists out there for the people that do it. That's, that pray for people. I wouldn't try to knock that, but that's his explanation. So I'm just curious your take on that.
So there are a couple points in this whole documentary. So watch it and you see where you tap out. There are points in which I tapped out, and I'm like, so there's part of me that wants to challenge you and go, so this is equating. I'm not going to go down the road, so don't get scared. But this equates to like aliens, where you're like, well, maybe it could exist. Like, sure, maybe that could be it. Is that we're in this entanglement where our energies are crossed. But there's probably other explanations too. I got lost in some of them were so cerebral and I'm like, I don't know. I can't get behind all of that, because he started talking about entanglements and how our energies are crossed and how we can communicate through these energies. And I'm like, okay, that's a whole different documentary. Like, let's have you separate that out. Let's talk about like holistic medicine. Maybe, I don't know. I couldn't.
The only thing that I like to hear, what kind of gives it some credence, if you will, is if someone says, hey, a lot of people out there pray for each other, and that really is doing good in their way. My belief is not necessarily it's a higher power, but it's this entanglement thing. But it could be that. It could be either one. I would not discount both, but here's how I think the power of other people's energy and focusing it on you as a sick person can help you.
Agree.
So I'm just
positive energy focused. Yeah. I could get behind. The guy started going down this entanglement thing. I'm like, it started with the Big Bang Theory. I'm like, dude, just focus on right now. So yeah, I can get behind a whole bunch of people sending some positive energy towards one source. And that helping in some way. Like, you're getting nothing but positive energy, even when your body's telling you crap's going wrong, right? Like, that can't hurt. Like, you should do that.
Right.
Definitely.
Right. I want to send positive energy to any of my friends, loved ones, people I know who are sick. whatever I can do to help them, I want to, right? Whatever that looks like. If it's prayer, if it's meditation and sending, good energies their way.
At the same time,
I'm all for it.
I'm gonna get some hate mail at canconvo@gmail.com. But I'm so sick of seeing people on Facebook like sign off their stuff with thoughts and prayers on all the people who died at something like a random shooting or like, I've got cancer. And they're like, people are like, thoughts and prayers. Are you really? I'm like, it just hurts.
Anyway, I think it's been bastardized a bit.
Has.
I mean, I hate putting, because I don't think that's an unpopular opinion. It's been so overused and so unsympathetically that it's like, that it becomes nothing, right? Yeah. Like that when you hear the wrong person say it in the wrong context, where it's like it just doesn't come off. It
drives me nuts.
As sincere. So if it just and it's like, oh, I'm doing this for likes. Like if I'm a celebrity and I feel like I have to make a statement.
Or a politician. Oh, all these people died. Well, thoughts and prayers to those families. Let me tell you about what my agenda is. Shut up.
Right. And I think they've bastardized it.
You never thought or never prayed about that family. So stop saying that.
Yeah. And it actually makes it hard for people like us because I've gotten text or I've been a part of some conversation where there's people that are close to me that have been dealing with something health wise. And I want to say, hey, my thoughts are with you. And then I go, oh, that sounds disingenuous because of how that's
No, I'm legitimately thinking and caring about you through thought process. It may not be prayers, but I'm really careful about one going, oh, thoughts and prayers. I am thinking about you.
Yes.
There are people that have had close to me that have had health issues, and I go, I legitimately think about them every day and go, God, I hope this really works out for them. I really want, this is a good person. Shouldn't have happened to them, whatever. But
so now I'm going to say, I'm going to go, hey, I'm going to entangle with you. The entanglement, look it up and know that I'm genuine. All right. So what you said, said you had some questions.
So my question to you is, after you watch this, do you hate pharmaceutical companies? And so I started this whole podcast with, I think I'm getting old and I think I'm starting to lean left a little. And I grew up in a very conservative family, Republican leaning until really my dad died. But
it happened.
Until
life, some wisdom, some other stuff.
You learn stuff.
There's a lot that goes.
It's more about being conservative than being. My dad was like, I'm a Republican, and I'm like, well, I'm conservative, but I'm not. Right. I can't get behind all the nonsense, some of that stuff. But anyway, that's not the point. So the more I see, you and I have had capitalism conversations a lot, and we're like, oh, this is the country to be in, right? Everybody else has all these weird things going on, socialism or whatever is going on, but you need to be in a place where competitive people can succeed. And if you want to succeed in life, you're in a capitalistic environment where you can succeed. But there are parts of me that when I watch this and I go, there are people in the pharmaceutical companies that are only trying to make money. And this thing, I'll be honest with you, when you watch Heal, if you go out to Amazon Prime and watch it, they don't sponsor us.
They should.
But they dog on pharmaceutical companies at the end. I mean, they kill them. But there is something to that in the form of capitalism going, I'm making money. They're marketing to people now about all these drugs that it used to be 20 years ago, 15 years ago. You went to your doctor, you asked your doctor for advice, they prescribed something, you didn't know anything about those drugs. Now they don't do that anymore. They market directly to consumers who've never taken a medical class ever. And they go ask your doctor how you can get on this drug. That's crap. Like, they're doing it because they're making tons and tons of money, and they figured out the formula to how do you do that. Oh, you've got COPD. Oh, you've got Crohn's. You need this medicine. Your life sucks now. I can make it somewhat better, although you'll have to deal with your arm falling off and headaches and your urethra burning every day. But I'll make your whatever that is better. So there's just that marketing piece of it, that capitalistic piece of it. I'm like, God, that pisses me off that there is this capitalism piece of it, that people are making tons of money off these biopharmaceutical companies are doing all of this just to make money, and you don't need it. That's not part of what your healing process should have to be. It's not a full view of what that should be.
You can't handle the truth.
Oh, hold on.
Oh, no.
Well, allow me to retort.
That's what I
Go.
meant to. It's like you put this juicy tea ball up on this tea and then handed me a giant bat.
And then you hit the wrong. And then you hit the wrong.
And then
button.
I hit the wrong button.
Yep. Go.
All right. Yeah. So I thank you. Sit back. Prepare yourself for Andrew's capitalism rant. All right. Capitalism is awesome. It is wonderful. It is one of the coolest inventions ever in our world, and it is very, very much a huge reason for a lot of our modern advances in medicine.
Agree.
Unfortunately, greed and capitalism get a bad name because it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good if you say, oh, this person's in it to make money, or this person's in it to better their lifestyle, like they're out for themselves. It's not a feel good. It's not like ooh, that makes me have these feelings, right? It has to come with this like inspirational message of like, you want this person to have invented the cure for cancer because they just loved being a healer of people. That's not how the world works. I'm sorry, people, but capitalism is a framework by which things will get better, and you have to embrace it. And I love when people come and they go, hey, these other countries, like look at these other countries and their universal healthcare and stuff. Yeah, you know what they're using? Our medicine, right? They're using our pharmaceuticals that we came up with, and now that we can sell on the cheap because we've gone far past that, and they're doing it in a different way because they're riding our coattails. We are the best medical country in the world, and I know there are people that will fundamentally disagree with that, but they have no idea. Here's why. Here's how it works, right? Okay, you have to have some level of incentive. If you don't have incentive, somebody's just sitting on the side of the road with no money and no resources and no way to get rich is going to go, you know what? I want to cure AIDS. And I'm using AIDS as an example because look at what AIDS was in the 80s. That thing came out of relatively small. All of a sudden it was like, holy crap, this is a big darn deal.
We have an epidemic.
This is going to kill a lot of people. If you get AIDS today, your survival rate, if you go and get medicine, is 100%. You can take medicine and you can take a test and it will come up negative, like you do not have it. Why does that happen? Number one, you have to acquire money. You have R&D. How does that happen? You might get grants, charity, investors. You go, hey, investors, I'm going to help you make money on top of your money. And they go, okay. And you go, but I'm going to do it in the medicine field because I'm going to help cure something that doesn't have a cure yet. They go, great. I'm going to make money off this because you're going to sell it for a profit. Yes, you study, you invent a new drug, you test it. Great. And it is a drug. I do understand it, but it's helpful. In the case of AIDS, they've made tons of drugs and have only improved on those to where we are at today. So once you study and invent a new drug, then you sell said drug. And yes, you have to sell it for a profit. I'm sorry, but it took a lot of money for that R&D. It took a lot of money to research all the time and effort those people did. They should get compensated. To say that we should give it away for free or give it away with no profit is just living in a world that doesn't make any sense economically, and it will never sustain itself. So then you have to make a profit. You then reinvest that profit into R&D. You put those profits to work, and then you invent more, and better drugs. Yes, some of them are going to be for things that you don't necessarily need, like ED. I mean, that's not a killer
Speak
of people.
for yourself. No, I was kidding.
Little blue pill, but that's going to make you money for other R&D projects that are in your, in your vein of. No, I didn't mean to use that word.
Wow,
about ED. But then you can use those profits and study and invent new drugs, and you scale that business to increase the profits. But you're doing it for your employees. You employ thousands of people. I mean, our pharmaceutical companies aren't run by one person. It's not like some one dude in his basement is running this going, cool. I'm going to get rich off the backs of all these people that have this chronic illness. No, they're employing people. They're putting people to work. They're putting money into the economy. Those people spend money. They pay taxes. They pay personal property taxes that improve your schools, your fire districts, your police stations. All of that money goes back into the economy. The profits then get, again, reinvested, and all because there's an incentive for people to make improvements on that medication. So is pharma evil? No. Is capitalism evil? No. You have to have a balance. They are saving lives out there.
This is worse than my vaccine rant. Holy crap.
And I get that it's not a feel good. It doesn't make a lot of sense. You don't go up to pharmaceutical companies and go, I love you. I love what you're doing. And because, you feel like it's dirty. It's a sort of a dirty business. And yes, there are people in that business. There are people. You insert people into anything and they're going to ruin it. There's going to be bad people making bad decisions and giving things a bad name. So yeah, there's that person out there that bought that one, diabetic.
And raised it 400,000%.
Do I agree with that guy? Not necessarily. I want to take a look at what his story was. I think it wasn't quite on the R&D level of trying to reinvest. I think he tried to spin it that way. But my point is, yes, there are going to be some bad apples in that bucket. And yes, there are going to be some people that come off as evil because they are solely in it for that greed, for the greed of getting rich. But at the end of the day, what comes out of it, there is so many life-helping drugs, so many life-saving drugs that we have, and cancer treatments. And if you look out there, it's amazing, the cancer treatments that we have, and the pinpoint where you can point certain the radiation on certain specific things. It's amazing. We have never lived in a better medical, and it'll continue to get better. But I mean, like for right now, it's better than it was 50 years ago. It than it was 40 years ago. It's just a balance. So I think all of the stuff that was in that heel.
Holy crap.
I'm wrapping it up. I promise.
I don't think you are.
But you opened up that, I just been waiting because I have this conversation sometimes and with people.
I can't wait for the wrap up on this.
And my point is a sense of balance. If you want to have a healthy life, you got to start with the fundamentals. You got to have a healthy diet. You got to exercise, and you got to, you got to make healthy decisions. Do we all do that? No. Do I do that? No. But that comes with consequences. If I get sick, what's going to happen? I'm going to have to figure it out. I'm going to figure out with my doctor, and that might mean medicine, but
it's 100% of the time means medicine.
Well,
100% of the time means medicine.
No. Well, I was at a certain point health wise, and I was like, cholesterol was bad.
Do you take medicine?
Not at first, no, because I worked out and I got numbers down, and I was able to do that.
You take medicine now?
I do.
Okay.
Because I found out.
Here's my point to your rant.
Hereditary.
I get. So hold on. So you missed the entire point of the entire documentary.
No, I didn't.
No, 100% you did. In that doctors and pharmaceutical companies have convinced you that their medicines are the only way that you get better. No. Hold on. I gave you 17 minutes straight to rant about this. Oh my God, it was forever. We started like an hour ago. So you missed the entire point, which is you don't need any of that. If you have high cholesterol, that's self-induced. You don't need medicine for it. You need to change your mindset and your lifestyle.
And I agree with that. I agree with that.
So I don't need a pharmaceutical company to tell me market to me to tell me how in need I am of some stupid drug that I don't need. I need to get my mind. We don't spend any time marketing to say you need to get your mind right and your diet right. We spend all of our time from a capitalist point of view of marketing all the crap things that you should put in your body to mask the symptoms of stuff that you're not fixing. So every pharmaceutical drug out there that goes, I can fix your hypertension, I can fix your cholesterol problems, I can fix your whatever that is marketing to you specifically as an ignorant user because they know you're going to go to your doctor and ask them to prescribe you something that you don't need that you could fix yourself. So capitalism in this point of view is saying I'm capitalizing on ignorant people and asking them, no, not even asking. I am trying to figure out how to feed off their fears to make them do something that they could fix themselves without me. So when you talk about R&D for ED or for whatever drug out there for Crohn's or for hypertension or for heart attacks or for all this crap, you're basically saying, I need these drugs. I don't. And that's what this documentary says is you don't need this crap. Press your buttons. Tell me I'm wrong. No, I'm just saying, you're telling me I need drugs that I'm telling you this documentary says
allow me to retort.
You don't need these drugs. And if you would spend the same amount of money or the same amount of healthcare on helping me holistically and instead of trying to sell crap to me and give some stupid biopharmaceutical 32-year-old kid $1 billion for a diabetic medicine that you don't need, because if I spent that money instead on helping a diabetic get their life right and get their mind right, and they could fix it themselves, and they don't need to put a bunch of chemicals in their body to harm them and mask all the symptoms that they're seeing, screw that guy. Screw that guy.
But you're picking one guy out again.
No. It's every pharmaceutical company, and I work for one. I legitimately, as of right now, work for a pharmaceutical company. Tell me I don't.
No, you do. But
Okay.
let me say this. Saying that we're only marketed to by big pharma to talk about how we can fix the problems that are self-sustained.
Not problems. Symptoms of the problems.
Symptoms.
They are marketing to your symptoms.
I agree. But to say that those are the things that are driving the behavior, I completely disagree with on 100% level, because watch the television and tell me if you don't see this, a commercial for Peloton. What is Peloton peddling? That's a pun, by the way.
It is a super good pun. Nice work.
What is Blue Apron peddling? You have almost as many commercials on the other side. So don't tell me like
the difference is your doctor doesn't prescribe you Peloton. The doctor doesn't prescribe you.
Your doctor doesn't tell you that you should do more healthy things. When I went to the doctor and I got
But your
cholesterol
healthcare
medicine,
doesn't cover it. Your healthcare covers your cholesterol medicine. Your healthcare doesn't cover you buying a Peloton. Your healthcare doesn't cover any sort of meditation or yoga classes. Your healthcare doesn't cover all this stuff that would be more holistic. And it does cover it. Some guy in a white coat telling you you're going to die if you don't do this. Here's a prescription for 3 things that you need to take every single day of your life that are toxins for your body that kill something that cause something else that's going to go wrong. Right? Like, that's my point, is that.
But you said that you're really only getting marketed to about how to fix these symptoms of the problems of society, which are laziness, eating too much,
stress. This whole thing is focused on stress. It says your emotional well-being is not well cared for, and you just let stress build up in your life. And if you learned how to address your stress, you would be able to have a whole lot less ailments in life, including cancer and a bunch of immunosuppressant things, and like there's the heart disease and diabetes, and the list goes on. Basically saying stress causes 90% of what goes wrong with you.
Okay.
And if you would spend half as much time worried about those things and how do you reduce stress and how do you alleviate some of that mental anguish that people carry around all their lives, you would not have as much illness. But instead, we spend a lot of our capitalistic energies on.
Well, my insurance company covers mental health things as well. I personally haven't I personally haven't, but I also don't think that in my life I've gotten to where I need to necessarily. I probably do.
Do you feel healthy?
Physically or mentally? Mentally, yes. I feel fantastic.
Physically?
On top of the world. Physically, I could stand to be better. But my point is that's my decision to make in a capitalistic society. It's a matter of balance. I hate when things go off balance of saying we look at these big pharma evil companies that are trying to predator on you, predatory marketing scam.
Holy Moses!
I know I'm trying
to
get these words in here because my brain is going faster than my mouth can keep up with. But to blame them that they're the ones pushing those behaviors, it's not. You're the one that's grabbing the extra Cheetos. You're the one that's not exercising. Not you personally, but the people out there that are making those decisions.
I walked for 32 minutes today, and I meditated.
Woo! So
which
fantastic.
We didn't even get to.
But
we're
what
at
I'm saying,
an hour and 7 minutes on this episode.
I know. We got to wrap it
already.
up.
We got to wrap up. But just so you know,
but we're having such a great.
I know.
Discussion.
I love this kind of. This is why I brought it up. I feel like it's aliens for me.
Yeah. But my point is that like. I think it's so easy to blame capitalism, blame greed, blame like the people that are making some money off of medicine. And it's so much easier to blame them than to look inward and go, oh, I'm sort of the one that's making a lot of the decisions. If I ate healthy, if I drank more water instead of soda, or if I ran or walked 20 minutes a day, those are the things and that we are making decisions for. There are a ton of marketing to try to market to you for that. I mentioned Peloton. We're not sponsored by them.
But we should be.
Right. All of the eating programs, all of the I lost 30 pounds and whatever by Weight Watchers, again, not sponsored by them.
But we should be.
But how many of those do you see? I see tons of them. I see that mirror thing that you can do a workout to. I see so many on the other side. There's not one-sided in terms of how we are getting marketed to. There is a giant health industry out there that is trying to make you healthy and wealthy and wise.
So let me try to, since this is my fun topic that I let me try to wrap this for you. Is I don't disagree with balance. Where I think you're at is, and I think I am mostly this way too, is that capitalism is the right thing. It's a good thing. But there are times in which in my life I've questioned recently in the last couple of years. This is one where I go, capitalism the balance of what a doctor tells you is very, you need medicine and you need our services versus I need a balance of saying you should get your head right. You should get some mental services. You should do yoga. You should get in a better spiritual place. There's not that balance. It doesn't feel like, and I feel like that's what I picked up.
I think that's cliche. I think you're just saying that because you think that, but have you not heard? Like I said, when I went to my doctor said, get on a treadmill, dude. That's going to help you. I don't want to just prescribe you medicine without you helping on the other side.
That's physical. That's physical.
But, all that stuff.
There's still.
She didn't say like go, and my doctor's, my general practitioner is the one that prescribed it to me. She wanted me to have she said, here's what we need to do in order for you not to die of a heart attack. But in the meantime, make healthier decisions. You need to get some other stuff that I am not prescribing for you. But
does she talk about this or does she talk about working out?
Well, I'm just saying it's more than just, but but I think it gets zoned in on I'm here as your doctor. I will prescribe you on a medicine pad, the medicines. But there are other, and I'm sure that there are doctors out there that say, get your mind right. If you need to go see a person to get stress under control, I've heard a lot of doctors talk about stress. Okay. Stress is like a huge killer of people, right?
So when I talked to my doctor recently, and I love my doctor, and I'm not going to name him because I do enjoy his banter whenever I go in, and I'm due to go in for 2 years now. Sorry, I'm late. But he always asks me, how is your stress level? How is things going in your life? And I go, hey, I smoke, and sometimes that's a bad thing. And he's like, I can help you with that. And I'm like, and sometimes I have some anxiety. I'm wound pretty tight, which you could tell from this last set of banter. He's like, I've got a drug for you. And I'm like, that's the thing that I go, I inherently just go, okay, good. But in my head, I'm like, now that I've watched this, I'm like, there are alternate ways to at least help with that before you just say okay good to any guy in a white coat who says you should take a medicine.
I agree.
Think about it. And so that's what this if you go watch Heal on Amazon Prime, you don't have to. We're not sponsored by them.
We should be.
So you don't have to get behind it 100%, but at least it should open your mind to how your thought process can impact your health, and how do you do that? And how do you better equip yourself with the right tools or go see the right people to try something other than just putting drugs in your system to try to counteract some symptoms.
I agree. And the last thing I'll say, because I know we could go on for a long time, is I would feel remiss if I didn't say this. And because of the whole, I went on talking about the capitalism is a great thing for advances in medicine, because I hear a lot of people talking about this universal healthcare, how it would be wonderful if we were situated like other countries that just gave out this healthcare and it was all very affordable to everybody. And that sounds great on paper, but if you don't have the resources or the money to incentivize people to use their brains to come up with new stuff, they're never going to do it. Right. Those people will go out and do something else that will enrich themselves more than just saying, I will give away my time for free. There will be a few people out there that do that, and God love them. I want them to do it.
Bleeding heart people. I love those people.
But that is not going to push the ball forward on medicines. And if we did not have some of the medicines, again, I'm not saying all of the medicines that we have are exactly needed, but if you're pushing that ball forward, the only way to push it forward is to incentivize people to use their brains, to enrich themselves, to be inventive.
There has to be some the innovative spirit. If you take that away, the incentive to be innovative, you're screwed, right? Because no one will do it. So with that said, no one's looking for government cheese. That should tell you that no one will look for government medical plans either. So if you agree, disagree, Andrew and I apparently completely disagreed and yelled at each other for an hour and a little bit.
We only yelled during the back half.
That's true.
After we rated.
It's after Andrew ranted for 10 minutes straight. So let us know what you think. We'd love to hear from you. We are starting to do some of these live now. So hopefully maybe we'll get some guests on at some point or people who are listeners. So that's kind of fun. Yeah, hit us up on our socials. They're all on the description of the podcast. Let us know what you're drinking. Hopefully you've got the drink along, and you can listen to this and take a picture of you and your High Noon pineapple and let us know what you think of it, because we'd love to hear it. We've got some listeners who've been drinking along with some of our older episodes, which is awesome, and sending us pictures. So do that. Hit us up on our socials. Appreciate it.
Capitalism rules.
Shut it.
Thanks, you.
Thanks, you.
You have reached the end of this part of the podcast, but not the end of the show. Please select the next available episode. Press play to continue listening.